Hey, welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR. With me once again is Zack Guggenheim. We are presented and brought to you by FanDuel as we are giving our instant reaction to Indiana 42-3, but don't worry, the game is still going on. It's the third quarter. How in the world did FanDuel give us minus 28.5? I don't know. I do not know how the spread was that. I tweeted it out earlier. It's just baffling to me. But we have Zack here with us. We're going to give our instant reactions to 2.5 quarters of play at this point, because honestly, it doesn't really matter what happens in the last quarter and a half, other than you're an Indiana fan and you just want to continue to see Purdue suffer. And if you want to do that, feel free, but we're going to give our reaction so far. Zack, do you enjoy seeing Purdue suffer?
No, and actually, I'll just start with this. The effort they gave in the first quarter made me think, maybe this is going to be closer than we. No, it's not going to be close. But Barry Odom's got his guys playing hard, and I respect that.
Yeah, I'm not one that wants to see Purdue suffer, but I am one that sees it and I'm like, makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's just go ahead and get into it. We are going to react to the Indiana win over Purdue, what we've seen so far, and of course, if anything else happens while the game is going on, we'll mention that. We're going to react to Iowa defeating Nebraska. They finished the year 8-4, going to a bowl game. Could be 9-4 to end the season. We'll see what happens there, and then we'll finish with a conversation about Nebraska. It's not pretty for Nebraska. So Nebraska fans, you might not like this one as much as Iowa fans will just enjoy continuing to hear about a rival get beat and have misery because of them.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we're at right now. So, all right, let's talk about Indiana, Purdue. Zack, in Indiana, they threw a near interception early on in the game, but they go 3-and-out their first drive. 5 plays, 40 yards their second drive, 3-and-out their next drive, 11 plays, 65 yards for a touchdown, punt, and then touchdowns throughout from there. The rest of the second half, the rest of the first half, and then the first 2 drives of the second half here, they've scored again. This Indiana team, even with Fernando Mendoza struggling at one point to start the game, he was 3 for 8. He's now doing much better, obviously. What's his stats? I don't know his stats after that last drive. Let me look him up really fast. He's now 8 for 15 for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's also got 2 carries for 27 yards and a touchdown there as well. Your thoughts on what we've seen from Indiana so far?
Well, I think, first of all, I know you started with Mendoza. The defense is playing lights out per usual. They're playing very well, albeit against a very inaccurate quarterback. And I'm sure we'll talk about Ryan Brownie. But I think the thing that is so fascinating to me, nobody can stop this run game. I mean, Roman Hemby, 12 carries, 152 yards, had an 82-yard run. Kalen Black, 13 carries for 66 yards. Mendoza, 2 carries for 27. Kobe Martin has the 1 carry for 5 yards, but I mean, they're averaging 8.9 yards per carry. I mean, that's just stupid efficient.
Yeah, I will say, so the only games that Indiana has really had their run game stopped was at Iowa, 104 yards, 2.67 yards per carry, no touchdowns. At Oregon, they had 111 yards, 3 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. At Penn State, they had 108 yards, 3.48 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. And then against Wisconsin, 83 yards, 2.24 yards per carry, and no touchdowns. So if you look at the numbers, like there have been some teams that have been able to stop them, but the problem is if you sell out to stop anything for Indiana, you're just going to get killed with other areas of the ball, right? And let's not forget, like that which one was it? I think that it was the Iowa game that had some sacks in there as well. So like this Indiana team, it really depends on what you try to take away. Whatever you try to take away from them, obviously early on in this game, it was Mendoza trying to take away his passing ability. Indiana just starts running Mendoza on you instead, right? Yep. And then you start to try and take away Mendoza, and then Kalen Black is going to come after you. Kobe Martin's going to come after you. Roman Hemby is going to come after you. I mean, it doesn't seem to matter what you try to do. Roman Hemby in this game right now is 152 yards rushing. Like, that's ridiculous. It doesn't matter what you try to do against
Mhm.
Indiana, even if you're successful at stopping one thing, they're just going to hit you with something else.
Yep. Well, and I think that's Indiana is so good at adjusting and changing what they do. And I think, we saw it against Oregon. They didn't really need to adjust today because again, it's Purdue. But it's as simple as, oh, Mendoza's not he's starting a little sluggish. Okay, let's just hand the ball off. Let's just power through this team. And right, it was 7-3, and you're like, okay, could Purdue have a little magic here? Nope. Hoosier Express going right through the Boiler Express. No offense to our friends at the Boiler Express podcast.
So they're not going to be very happy that you switched up the name there, but I like the name of it, Hoosier Express, right on down the field. I like that. Yeah, I mean, when Mendoza wasn't, really having success throwing the ball, when I say down the field, I mean like, 5, 10, 15 yards down the field. I'm not saying like deep balls or anything like that, but when he wasn't having success with that, Indiana just switches it up right away. And not only are the receivers guys who can get open down the field, but they're also guys who, number one, block really well in the screen game. And number two, you get the ball to a guy like Omar Cooper in his hands, and he's going to kill you running the ball as well. And then you also have running backs who are able to, run out of the back or catch balls out of the backfield and pick up yards that way too. Like, this team is just so versatile. They do so many
Mm-hmm.
things really, really well that eventually, if you take something away, it's just going to completely be gone and on offense. And then the defense just seems to be able to stop anybody at this point. Purdue has rushed 22 times for 34 yards. Ryan Brown has 158 yards passing, but none of it has been all that effective. It's been
No.
Purdue got down to the red zone there a little bit, but they weren't really able to do much with it. They kicked a field goal, which field goals aren't going to win you games against Indiana. Spoiler alert.
It's fair. It's a fair assessment.
And Purdue is punting right now, and Indiana's about to get the ball back one more time. So we'll see.
Mm.
People are asking about Iowa, Nebraska in the chat. We'll get to Iowa, Nebraska here in just a few. I just want to kind of finish this conversation about Indiana because, again, you don't even have to watch the entire game. Mendoza's probably going to sit for the rest of the game here. Yeah, they're bringing Alberto in here. It's the end of the third quarter. They're bringing Alberto Mendoza in here. Indiana won this game 66-0 last year. Do you think Indiana are they disappointed that they gave up a field goal?
Certainly. But and this is, and again, this is maybe more about Purdue than it is about Indiana. But on the broadcast, they asked Coach Signetti about how the difference between last year and this year with Purdue, and he noted it too, that these guys compete harder. And on one hand, you always want a shutout, but at the same time, I think there is an acknowledgement here. I know it's 42-3. I know people will say, well, Purdue stinks. But I do think you have to. Purdue is not who they were a year ago, and I think that's a big deal. And I think Barry Odom is going to continue to progress. 2-10 this year, yes, it's not a good season, but I think that 3 points does matter to Purdue.
Well, yeah, I mean, it shows. Excuse me. It shows that they were able to have a little bit of offensive success in this game, which I wouldn't say is a concern at all for Indiana. But last year I would have never envisioned that Purdue would be able to have an 11 play or a 10 play. They had a field goal missed there at the end of the first half. I would have never envisioned that Purdue would be able to have a an 11 or 10 play yard drive, but here we are because Barry Odom's actually done something with this program. I say that as Alberto Mendoza is running down the sideline here and about to score another touchdown, tiptoeing on the sideline. So don't give too much praise to Purdue, JR. Otherwise,
this is your fault. I praise them; they're doing okay.
Yeah. If I praise them, they give up a huge run on a read option there. But I mean that's just the thing is it doesn't matter what you try to stop against Purdue. They're they're going to destroy you. So
Mm-hmm.
I do look forward to this Ohio State matchup because I think Ohio State is the one. There might be another defense out there in the nation that can actually shut down all parts of Indiana's offense. But even if
You
that happens, you have to score on Indiana's defense.
that is if they play Ohio State. They may
Well,
not.
yes. Yeah. They might play Michigan. They might play Oregon. Oh, touchdown. Have to update the score here at the bottom. Go ahead, Zach.
Speaking of score watching, I know it's not Big Ten, but Texas is on the doorstep to make a 2-score lead on Texas A&M right now.
Yeah, I saw that. Arch Manning was having like an awful game in the first half, and now here in the second half,
Yeah,
I wouldn't say he's like lighting it up. He's 12 of 27, but they're running the ball on Texas A&M. Are you surprised by this?
I was watching this game with my dad a little bit. I had the dual screen with Indiana, Purdue, and Texas A&M, and I think at halftime I was like, I'm going to switch the Texas A&M game full time because this Indiana Purdue game is out of reach. Texas scored. I'll be honest. In the first half, Texas A&M, there were moments where I'm like, Texas A&M just looks like the better team. But then they would do. I said that, but then I'm like, but they don't look great. And I don't think either team looks great. Like it felt like a mid-off. And now it seems like Arch Manning is actually making good decisions. Steve Sarkisian called an awful game in the first half. I mean, it was just
kind of
so
been on par for him.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, it was just slow developing plays against a blitzing team. It was like, what are you doing, man? Get rid of the ball quick. Screens and slants and then Arch is trying to hold on to the ball and so I don't know what they did in the second half to adjust, but obviously they're doing something right.
Here are my teams that I think could give Indiana problems if they see them in the Big Ten championship or in the playoffs. Ohio State. I think Texas Tech, but I also don't know for sure because I'm pretty sure that Indiana's defensive line would take care of Texas Tech's offensive line, and their quarterback play has not been spectacular. Oregon, if they see them again, I think Oregon, if they get healthy, could give Indiana some problems. I'm not saying Oregon would win. Obviously, Indiana won that game at Oregon, but I do think this Oregon team is evolving and getting better, so they could give them problems. Again, give them problems does not mean I'm picking them to beat them. I just think they're going to give them a good game.
Yep.
And then that might be it. I mean, this Texas A&M team was kind of up there, but Georgia doesn't have the pass rush to go up against them, and their running game is not nearly consistent enough, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think Indiana would shut their running game down. I mean, if Indiana can stop Oregon's running game, they can surely stop Georgia's running game.
Yeah. Georgia looked terrible today. I mean, they looked awful.
Their Heisman quarterback, which
he threw for 70 yards.
70 yards?
Against a defense that has allowed 40, 24, and I think 40 against some of the worst teams in the AC. Well, Pitt, who's decent, and then Boston College, who's the worst team in the ACC, and NC State.
How is Marcel Reed getting any love for the Heisman right now?
Well, he had a Heisman moment against the 4-7 Gamecocks.
All right. He's 13 of 21 for 98 yards, 8 carries for 51 yards. Like, coming out of this game, people are going to roast Mendoza because he went 8 of 15, 117 yards and 2 touchdown passes and 2 carries for 27 yards and 1 touchdown. He should not get roasted for that. I understand it's against Purdue, but still, like this is an Indiana team that came out here to win their way. People are going to try to roast Mendoza for that, but it doesn't make any sense if you're going to try to build up a guy like Marcel Reed, who's shown that he has the ability to look like one of the worst quarterbacks in the country at any point in time against any team.
Yep. I will say it was a scary moment when he got hurt in the first quarter and it did not look good, but I think and I wonder how much that's impacting this Texas A&M Texas game right now. So he's playing with a ankle injury and I think he's okay, but
Well, I mean, it says a lot about him that I've kind of said a little bit this season. If you take away Marcel Reed's mobility, he's not really all that great.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
You know?
he's still kind of mobile. That's the thing. Like it's not like it's
Yeah, but not as much as he was,
right,
right?
right. My
Yeah.
my point though is that to your point, he's limited.
Yes.
Even with his
Correct.
mobility, he's limited. So
Philip, appreciate you being here, Philip. And we got a few people here. We got Evil Badger, new member. I think that is Ryan Willie. Appreciate you being here, Evil Badger.
mm,
Let us know for sure if that's you. It's like I said before, StreamYard's doing this weird thing where they're using like your at names instead of your real name, which is really stupid. And then Xbron is here. Appreciate you guys being here. Philip says, how far does A&M drop with a loss? I mean,
I
how
think
far did Alabama drop? They dropped to 10 from 4, so 6 spots. Yeah, that's Ryan Willie. Okay, cool. Thanks for that.
I don't think they go anywhere. I don't think they go any lower than 7th.
They go behind Oregon, but ahead of Oklahoma.
Right,
Does
because
that
well,
sound right?
Oklahoma has 2 losses, so I think Ole Miss and Oregon and Georgia would all slide above. So like it would just be I think a drop all the way down to 7.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with that. Which
I
it would be absolutely ridiculous to try and put Texas A&M above Oregon, but par for the
they
course for these committees and AP polls to try and do
I
that. Well, in fact, I cannot complain too much about the AP poll. They moved Oregon into the top 5, so
yep.
can't complain about them too much right now. So, all right. Anything else on this Indiana game we want to mention? Indiana good, Purdue not good. Indiana national championship contender. We've been saying it all season long,
Yep.
and they're gonna be a really good team in the postseason.
Yep. Yep. Specimens versus no specimens.
Very true.
That's
Very true.
my take.
All right. Well, let's move on here to Iowa and Nebraska. Let me pull it up here. All right. Let me flip my hat around. That way I don't get any Iowa fans if they watch this later on. See me in Indiana hat and complain. Iowa destroyed Nebraska. Holy cow. 40-16. It was a close game at the half. I believe what it was, 24-16 at the
Yep.
half there. So it wasn't like outright throttling the entire game, but I think anybody who watched that game and understood what was going on knew that Oregon or that Iowa was going to pull ahead. And props to you, Zach. You called this. I thought Nebraska would keep the game close, but Nebraska, as they've done before, made mistakes. Iowa capitalized on them, and it was over from there.
Yeah. This is the thing that well, I'll talk about that with Nebraska. So
Yeah, let's
I
just stay on
yeah,
Iowa for
and
about 10
Iowa.
minutes, and then we'll get to Nebraska.
Yeah. I think this game confirmed to me what I've thought uh since before they played Oregon. And I saw some people talking about this in the chat. Iowa is not an average team this year. And I know some people were saying that in the chat. They're not average. They are quite good. And I don't think they were good in the first half of the season. Like I think that Iowa State game, I'll say this. I think if Iowa State and Iowa played today, I think Iowa does what they did to Nebraska to Iowa State. Because Iowa State's not very good. And that's why I've been slow to get on the Iowa bandwagon. But I mean, they came close to beating Oregon. I think Oregon could be an elite team. They came close to beating USC at USC. USC is clearly a top 15 caliber team. I think last week was an aberration against Michigan State. And I think I kind of stepped back and I thought, oh man, did I misread Iowa? And did I look like a fool? Should Kirk Ferentz retire? And this game proved to me that no, Iowa is a legit team, and whoever gets them in the bowl game, I hope they get an SEC team because they'll smoke them. I mean, they're so good on the lines. Gronowski has improved from week 1 to week 12. or 13 or 14, whatever week we're on, he has improved dramatically as a decision maker, as a passer. Some of the plays that the receivers made in this game and the tight ends made in this play, I'm like, I didn't know that Iowa receivers could make those plays. I mean, they were great. And then the Iowa defense, they gave up a lot in the first half to Emmett Johnson. But aside from him, and especially in the second down, they clamped down. They held Nebraska to 300 yards. And that's, a lot of those yards, I think Emmett Johnson ran for 170 in the first half. Held him to 40 in the second. I mean, they just completely shut him down. So this team, there's a lot to love. It's too bad that they did not gel in week one, because I think they legitimately could be a fringe playoff team. I think they're that good.
If this team did not lose to Iowa State, they would probably be ranked around where Texas is ranked right now.
Yes.
Not necessarily because they beat, a big team like Oregon or Indiana, but because there are not many teams in the nation who could go to the wire with Oregon and Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana needed a late game touchdown, and I shouldn't say needed Gronowski to be hurt, but it helped that Gronowski was not in that game for them to win later on. And then Oregon needed a time expiring field goal to beat Iowa. I know, like, if we're going to talk about quality losses, those are two of the best quality losses in the country.
Right.
Right. And I think that the thought process there would be Texas had a quality loss against Ohio State. They also have 3 losses, and then they're going to get the bump for them all. Florida's not a good team, but they're in the SEC, so they're going to give them extra credit.
Yep.
Right?
Well, and to be fair to Texas, they beat Oklahoma. They beat Vanderbilt, who I don't think is a good team, but they're a good team. They're not a great team. But I don't fully disagree with you though.
Yeah. Xbron says, could Iowa beat Tennessee?
Yes.
Yes. I think so. My only thing with Iowa, so like Iowa is a team that does 4 things really, really well. They're a team with an identity. It's established. They know exactly who they are, and they know exactly how they're going to win games. That's huge. They're a team who plays very sound football. They play within their scheme, within their system every game. That's huge. They recruit to their style of play. Like they don't get caught up in like, oh, look at this crazy athlete. Like we could bring him in and try to do these things with him. Like you see programs like Ohio State do that. They just signed a guy named Legend Bay, who's like one of the craziest athletes in the 2026 class. They can do that because of all the versatility they have around him. But a team like Iowa should never go after a guy like that. A team like Nebraska should never go after. I shouldn't say never. Like that should not be their main target because they don't need to waiver what they do for one player. They just need to recruit players to do what they do well. A guy like Caden Weegan, right? JUCO player, walk on, eventually got a scholarship because he knew what the goal of how to play at Iowa is. And I mean, we can have this conversation here in a minute, I'm sure, but maybe the best returner in Iowa history, I mean, some of the records that he's tied, and he's up there with Tim Dwight up there with a lot of stuff. Like he might be the best, if not the best, the second best returner in Iowa history. Why did he get to that point? Because he knows what Iowa values. He knew what he wanted to do. He went out there. He turned into one of the best, and it's been huge for Iowa's success this season. And the final thing is they don't waver, like I said, they recruit to their style. They don't waver from who they are. They know who they are. They don't waver for it. That can get them in some issues against these SEC teams, right? They played Tennessee a few years ago, lost pretty bad in that one because Iowa can get out athleted. You see that sometimes in the tackling, and you even saw that in this game with Emmett Johnson. Emmett Johnson was able to kind of power through Iowa, some of his elusiveness a little bit as well. But a guy like TJ Lateef wasn't really able to do that against Iowa's linebackers because they just play such sound football. So I definitely think Iowa could beat Tennessee, but I do think there's a caveat there of some of the athleticism that Tennessee might have that could give Iowa fits.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Tennessee has the type of athletes that like in Ohio State or even in Oregon have. And so I
No,
like
no, I don't think they do, but they might have a few that could
that could
give
give
Iowa
them
issues,
that.
right?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
You know, some of their receivers. I mean, Joey Aguilar, he's not an incredible athlete in any way that's going to give Iowa a bunch of issues. I wouldn't think.
Mhm.
But I got a team with kind of a gimmicky scheme like Tennessee. And Kirk Ferentz has seen it before. Phil Parker's seen it before. Like I said, they saw it a few years ago. I feel like they would be able to figure that out,
Yeah.
how to stop it.
Yeah, I agree.
So Philip also throws in Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean was great. I just think that's how great Caden Weegan is. It's like,
He's very good.
yeah. I mean, and like they talked about it on the broadcast, like some of the hidden yards that Iowa gets in some of these games with like how the teams have to punt to them. Like you didn't really see Michigan State do it all that much because they just kept punting to Weegan, which was like stupid. But a team like Nebraska, they were very aware of what this Iowa team was able to do. So they started on the 42. Sorry, that's where the drive ended. Sorry. They started on their 38. Nebraska's 29. They're 49. And then they started on like the normal 25-yard line, but they never started with the ball inside their own 20 the entire game because you can't kick the ball to Caden Weegan. Like you have to kick away from him, and that ends up with short
Mhm.
punts a lot of times. So
Yep.
it's just a crazy good weapon to have. So
Mm.
um, the only other thing I'll ask, 8-4 this season for Iowa. If you're an Iowa fan, are you happy with that? Like you're happy with the way this team is playing. You're happy that you beat your three biggest rivals in the conference. You're not happy you didn't beat Iowa State. Obviously, you would have liked to have that rivalry win, but you got three other rivalry wins, and you basically destroyed all of them. Minnesota 42-3, Wisconsin 37-0, Nebraska 40-16 at Nebraska. Like you destroyed these teams. If
Mhm.
you're Iowa, are you happy with an 8-4 season where you destroy all your rivals?
Um, I think so. I personally I wouldn't be. I think I would in the sense that Iowa is still, I think, the team to beat in like that tier 2, tier 3 of the Big Ten. But I think if you're looking to ascend, it's like, is this always going to be the ceiling in the new Big Ten? And I'm not sure if Iowa fans are thinking that, but if I were an Iowa fan, that's what I would think.
I think you only truly get into a bad season if you're Iowa if you start losing to your rivals. If as long as you're beating your rivals at Iowa, you're good, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe it's not what you wanted with a playoff berth or anything like that. Like I know there's some Iowa fans that want that, and I don't blame them for wanting that. But you can't be dissatisfied with Kirk Ferentz going 3-1 against his rivals and basically saying against Iowa State, our offense wasn't fully developed and put together because Mark Gronowski was hurt all of spring, and he was still coming up through it. Go ahead
Hmm.
and read the super chat.
Yeah. Dave, thanks for the super chat. If Texas wins over Texas A&M, do you think a 9-3 Texas team should be in the playoffs? No.
Absolutely not.
Emphatically no.
Okay, well, hold on. If a certain scenario happens,
What?
if Miami loses, Vanderbilt loses, and Michigan loses, and Alabama loses, like if there is mass chaos up there, all those teams lose, then I think Texas has a shot. Now I think BYU would be the team that would get in, right? At
Hmm.
number what are they, 11 right now?
Yeah.
So I think there's a shot there, but no, like this win by itself does not put Texas in the playoffs, and
No.
it should not. They're nine
No.
and three. They need too
No.
much help.
Yeah.
And as much as Texas fans want to say, well, we have a top 10 strength of schedule and everything else, your strength of schedule does not make you elite. What you do with that strength of schedule is what makes you elite.
Yep.
If you lost to Ohio State and Georgia, even if you got blown out by Georgia, you'd be in the playoffs right now, most likely.
Hmm.
But since you lost to Florida. Like, even if you get rid of that Ohio State game, you lose to Florida and Georgia, you're out of the playoffs.
Yeah, that's no good.
Like, if you would have just taken care of business against Florida, you would be ranked right next to Oklahoma right now. You'd be one spot ahead of Oklahoma right now. You'd be in the playoffs, but you didn't. You lost to Florida, and this is what you get.
Well, and Texas is they're now only up by 4, probably by 3, because Texas A&M just scored. Heisman moments for Marcel Reed. Heisman moments. Oh gosh, we should probably move to Nebraska.
I was gonna say you're gonna have another Heisman moment video here soon if we're not careful.
If Sayan beats Michigan and Big Ten championship game, it doesn't really matter, I don't think. But
yeah. Phil says Texas shouldn't make the playoffs. I agree. Doc says, do you think Iowa would beat Michigan? Yes. I have Michigan power ranked above them right now. But I think Iowa would definitely beat them. Better coach, know their system, don't make as many mistakes. I don't think Michigan has outstanding athletes that would destroy them. Mm-hmm. They have a few guys here and there, but I don't think it's anything outstanding that would destroy them. Mm-hmm. Am I crazy?
I think it's a coin flip.
Yeah. Joe says, any predictions for Penn State's head coaching search? So I put out a poll earlier today. I think it's going to be one of Terry Smith, Dabo Swinney, Kalani Sitake, or Josh Heupel. I think right now those are my 4 that I think it is. I think Chesney of UCLA. Well, if Kalen loses to Auburn, I think he gets in the conversation there.
Okay.
But I think your mystery candidate is probably one of those 3 that I mentioned. If you don't go with the mystery candidate, it's probably Terry Smith. If Kalen DeBoer loses to Auburn, I think Kalen DeBoer is out at Alabama, but I don't know if they could get something done quick enough, because I think Penn State wants to hire somebody next week if they can.
Yeah.
And if they can't hire any of those other guys, I think they're just going to go with Terry Smith, which I don't think would be a terrible decision. I think you'd get clowned for it nationally a little bit, because people would say you fired James Franklin for one of his assistants, but Doc says Dabo. Yeah, I mean, it's just all the talk is about some big accomplished coach, right? And Dabo kind of fits that. He's not happy at Clemson. You know, he's an established, or he's a successful coach previously. Maybe he just needs a new stop. I don't know. I'm just connecting the dots here as best I can.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see. I think we'll find out next week.
Yeah.
So, all right, Zack, Nebraska. I don't even know where. Let's start at Matt Rhule.
Well, can I just say something about this?
Go ahead.
And maybe this feeds into the Matt Rhule discussion. If you told me, let me pull it up here.
I'll just reference this while you pull it up. IU's about to have their first undefeated regular season ever. That's pretty special.
That is amazing.
That's really special.
Okay,
right, sorry. Go ahead.
If you told me that your running back was going to have 29 carries for 217 yards and a touchdown, and didn't know anything else, what would be the final score in your opinion if you just heard that stat line?
Did you say touchdowns or did you just say yards?
One touchdown.
Okay, I think Nebraska lost.
Okay.
I don't think they would have lost by this much, but I probably would say something like 24-17.
Okay. All right. So still respectable.
Yeah. But I also was somebody that thought this game was going to be close from the beginning. You were somebody that, had this from the beginning. Iowa was going to pull away and blow them out.
Well, but early in this game, I was like, Nebraska could win this game. And I think that's the thing that's so staggering about this. And I think it gets to your thought about Matt Rhule, or leads into Matt Rhule. Your star player had a star performance, and you got beat by 24. And a lot of it was you got dominated, but a lot of it was a ton of self-inflicted wounds. Nebraska did none of the little things right. And that's a coaching problem.
Yes. I actually thought Nebraska's offensive line was okay today. That they
Yes.
opened up some good
Yeah.
running lanes for Emmett Johnson. And if you told me before the game that Iowa lose or that Iowa wins this 40-16, I would have told you, okay, the offensive line had a, you know, no good, awful, terrible day. But
Mm-hmm.
Iowa didn't have a single sack in this game. Now they had a lot of pressure on TJ Lateef because Nebraska, you know, rolled him out so many times, and Iowa knew it was coming every single time. But I'm not saying like Connor Stallions knew it was coming. I think they're just a really smart defense, and they knew what this Nebraska team was going to try to do with TJ Lateef back there, because they don't trust him in the pocket, and they say he's gonna run anyway. So let's just put him in the bootleg, go with some play action. But also the play calling was very, very troublesome in this game.
Yep.
I mean, I know it's late in the game and it probably doesn't matter. There's like 5 minutes left. Nebraska's down 40-16. But what in the world are you doing not handing the ball to Emmett Johnson off there?
Mm-hmm.
On the 1 yard line? You decide to run a read option. And what was that with, like the tight end or something like that? I didn't even see who it was with. I had the
Yeah.
game on mute at that point, but like, what in the world are we doing? Like, there is a lot to say about the disappointment of Dana Holgerson and the disappointment of John Butler this season. Butler, I think, did a good job with the secondary. I think the secondary for Nebraska has been good this year. They had some issues in this game against Iowa, but overall, you didn't lose this game because Mark Gronowski threw for 166 yards and 1 touchdown. You lost this game because you made mistakes on special teams and you had bad play calling in the red zone because it was Emmett Johnson that got you down there. And then on 2nd and 4, you're trying to take a shot to the end zone when you could just keep running the ball with Emmett Johnson to get a touchdown. But no, you have to
Mm-hmm.
put yourself in a bad situation where you're 3rd and 4. I mean, it's not a bad situation, but it's not the one you want. In 3rd and 4, where everybody knows you're going to run it with Emmett Johnson, and Iowa stacks the box and they stop you, and then you have to kick a field goal.
Yep.
Ryan says, does Bama get into the ESPN Invitational with a Texas A&M loss? Yeah, I think as long as Bama wins this game against Auburn, they're in no matter what.
Yeah, they're in unless they lose. Yeah. I think to that.
I mean, if Michigan wins, that could put some pressure on them. But I think even if Michigan wins, the SEC championship, they could win that, because who would they play? Georgia, right? Isn't
Yeah.
it them in Georgia if Texas A&M loses?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think that's the thing, and I'm realizing I gotta probably head out in a few minutes here with this.
yeah, we won't go
Just
that much longer.
yeah. The thing that's staggering to me, everybody talked about the Matt Rhule jump. They talked about it on the broadcast. This was not a Matt Rhule jump. Like, this was a failure.
We said it from the beginning of the season: 8 wins, or this is a failure.
Yeah. And listen, I don't care that Dylan Raiola got hurt. Like, TJ Lateef looked lost today. And Penn State's has a lot of talent. They have some elite talent, but they did not belong on the field with Penn State. Iowa, they did not belong on the field with today. And that, to me, is, I think, a real problem in year 3, because Iowa felt like Iowa beat Penn State. Iowa belonged on the field against Oregon. And you said, like, that's like right now, that's what you want Nebraska to be, is Iowa. Well, guess what? They're not Iowa. They're not close. And so that, I don't know what Matt Rhule's going to do. And that all the momentum, like a lot of smoke to Dylan Raiola leaving. I'm not going to comment whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it feels like all the momentum has halted.
Well, we kind of saw this last season too, right? They started the season 6-2 this year. They've lost 3 of their last 4.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's like last year.
2 years ago, first year, Matt Rhule, 5-7. Not what you wanted, but improvement. Go with it. Last year, 6-6. You get the bowl win. Again, not what you wanted because you kind of fell apart there at the second half of the year, but you got to a bowl game. You know, that's improvement, right?
Mm-hmm.
This year, 7-5. We'll see what happens with the bowl game, but with this, Nebraska fans might hate me for saying this, but I think some Nebraska fans will agree with me. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine. But I think this is more of a 7-5 record because of the schedule, and less of a 7-5 record because this is a 7-5 team.
Yep. I
Do you
agree.
agree?
I absolutely agree.
And I don't totally agree with you on the Dylan Raiola thing. Like I do think Dylan Raiola going out impacted things because I do think Nebraska probably wins that USC game. I'm not gonna say they for sure do, but I think they probably win that USC game if Dylan Raiola is in there. But I don't think you would have made a difference against Penn State, and I don't think you would have made a difference in this game against Iowa.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he wins. Maybe they win against USC, but and that might
And if you win
change
against
the ten.
USC, you get 8 wins, and that's a successful season, in my opinion. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I Dylan Raiola did not grow though in certain ways either. Um, and that's the thing that was they just held on the ball way too long. And so maybe they beat USC, or maybe USC sacks him 6 times because he holds on to the ball too long.
Yeah. Max says coordination was pretty upset on his video this afternoon. Oh, yeah, coordination. Okay. Still thinks Rhule is the right guy long term, but certainly a lot less sure as of it right now. I think you'd feel fine if Matt Rhule didn't get the big extension, right? Because you see improvement. This team won games late in the game. Like they had a game winning drive this year. Like you're seeing
Mhm.
improvement. Matt Rhule is improving things. But it's not enough. And I think Matt Rhule even said that in his presser afterwards. He was like, is it enough improvement? No. Are we improving? Yes. And I do think that's like a dangerous place to be when you're like, we are not improving enough, but we are improving. But I mean, that's basically what you and I are saying right now, right?
Yeah.
Is that there's improvement, it's just not enough. And I think enough would have been 8 wins this season. Maybe Dylan Raiola gets you there. But it's not enough. I mean, I had a few other points, but you can kind of wrap it up here if you want, Zach.
No, I was just gonna say I think it's just very disappointing. And like I feel for Nebraska fans because they've been waiting. They're not even waiting to get to return to glory. They're want to return to respectability.
I would say they're respectable. I wouldn't say they're like completely
I
disrespectable.
well, I don't know
I don't
because
I don't think they're respectable as like a top 25 team, but I think they're more
well, I
respectable than they
think
were. Like they're not
I
going 3-9,
no,
right?
no, but I mean like they are they are an average team. And they don't want to be that. They shouldn't be this. But
Hmm.
like they fired Bo Pelini and everybody thought that was the right move at the time. And they would long for Bo Pelini right now.
Yeah. I mean, I am not one that is going to dash a school for trying to have expectations for themselves very often. So like I'm one of those people that I didn't hate the moving on from Bill Pelini
I didn't either, but
because I think it's easier to say it with hindsight, you know. But I do
yep.
think I think Scott Frost is really what screwed him up, you know.
Well, yeah, that's fair.
But
I
at the same time, Scott Frost also got you to this point now where you're saying 7-5 in the Big Ten is improving, but you have to be realistic about it, you know.
yeah.
So
This was supposed to be a year where they like the schedule was set up for them. I think you make a great point.
mhm.
And I think that those 7 wins are about schedule more than they are about ability.
Yeah, I mean they beat Cincinnati neutral, Akron, Houston Christian, Michigan State at Maryland, Northwestern at UCLA.
Yeah, there's no big wins.
Yeah, I mean, the Cincinnati win was good as we saw Cincinnati get better throughout the year, and Cincinnati's been like a fringe top 25 team this year. But I don't think anybody went into this year saying, yeah, our best win's going to be Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Like you were looking for a win against Michigan. Like if this team won against Michigan, how different do you think this season would be?
Oh, I mean, huge.
I think they'd be 9 and
Michigan,
3.
Michigan, USC, Iowa, like a win against any of those.
Or if they just didn't drop the Minnesota game, this would be an 8 and 4 team.
Yeah.
And
Although
you know
I
what?
still
If that happened, all of these losses here, Michigan, USC, Penn State, Iowa, they wouldn't feel good, but you'd say, you know what? Those are tier 1, tier 2 teams in the Big 10. We're tier 3, we're growing, we're improving. Get better next year. But now you're 7 and 5. You might be tier 3. Dylan Raiola's probably gone.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you said, I don't know if that's the worst thing in the world. But
Yeah.
all right, last thought, Zach, and then we'll get out of here.
I just don't know what the future is of this team.
I think it all rests on Matt Rhule.
And I'm not sure I'm confident in that.
I'm confident that the team will not regress substantially. Like I don't think this team's going back to 3 and 9 or 4 and 8.
No, I think they're
But
firmly in that 6 and 6, 7 and 5, 8 and 4 range, I think.
Yeah, like I think it's more likely this team is 8 and 4, 9 and 3 next season than 3 and 9, 4 and 8.
Yep.
I'm not predicting they're going to do that, but I'm just saying I think that's more likely. So
that's funny. Matt Rhule year 3 has been postponed to Matt Rhule year 5. I just don't know if we're going to see a Matt Rhule bump.
Yeah.
Which I think some of it speaks to the talent, the difference in talent in the Big Ten from the Big 12 and the American.
Mm-hmm. I think Doc hits the nail on the head there. 7 needs to be their floor. You need to win your out of conference games, especially if you're going to schedule without Tennessee on there, which is fine. I don't like it, but I get it. Same thing with Indiana. I don't like that they schedule in the out of conference the way they do, but I get it. This year is showing us that honestly, it's better to have a week out of conference and win all those games and go into your conference and play tough opponents. So again, I don't like it, but I get it. And I think you go into conference and you win 4 games at the very least. You go 4 and 5 in conference. That's a fine floor. You don't ever want to go under that, but that's a fine floor. And maybe you get a win against a team that people perceive as better than you. Yep. And you go 5 and 4, maybe 6 and 3 some year. So, all right, Zach. Anything else?
Nope. I think we did a good night's work.
Bang up job. Joe says fish staying at UW for your information. I think he will too. I think he would be the more likely of the two between Riley and him leaving, but I think Florida's going to go after like Summerall or somebody like that. I think that was the reports that came out today. So I agree. And then last thing, Texas just got an INT, 3:41 left. They're up by 10. Yep, they're going to win. You can rest easy tonight, Zach. Texas A&M has finally lost. But you might have a nightmare that Texas gets in the college football playoffs.
I wouldn't mind. I honestly would not mind that as much.
Honestly, I'd be okay with it because I know they're going to lose in the playoffs, and I think another SEC team losing in the playoffs is
it's good.
It's just fine with me.
Fine. Yep.
All right. Good night, Dave. Good night, everybody else. Appreciate you being here.
Care.
Have a good one. We'll see you next time.